Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Amber and this is Funny Freed. Before we get started today, if you like what I'm doing and want to support the channel, please consider subscribing and sharing the channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to get notified every week whenever new content comes out. I post something new every Friday, and there are shorts that get posted during the week here and there. Follow me on various social media such as Facebook and TikTok, and I'm pretty active on there during the week. Also, as a quick reminder, don't forget that there is the Hot Sauce Hot Ones challenge for me to hit 500 subscribers, and I will do the eating hot sauce or hot things while trying to do Bible trivia or anything in general. And it is going to be very painful because I am a chicken baby when it comes to anything spicy. So this is going to be very hard for me. Now that all the introductory stuff is out of the way, let's get into today's video. Today I want to talk about and do a deep dive on the fruits of the Spirit. In fundamentalist Christianity, the fruits of the Spirit are taught to us as what we should strive for, things that we should strive to produce. And producing these things just show that we're good fruit, good Christians. The amazing thing to me that I find is that there's so much cognitive dissonance between what we're told to have as good fruit and what IFB and fundamentalism currently shows as their fruit. So my hope in going through and doing a bit of a deep dive into the fruits of the Spirit and talking about it and talking about how really in fundamentalism we're not really even doing that and why, I hope to shed some light on what I believe Christians have been instructed to strive for it, and we have failed miserably. And in doing so, we have hurt a lot of people. Today the fruits of the Spirit can be found in Galatians 5 verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no law. The way that I read this is with the fruits of the Spirit, one automatically leads into another. So you can't have one without the other. The greatest of all of these, the number one fruit that we are supposed to have, is love. Jesus tells us while he in his earthly ministries in the Gospels that these are the commandments I give to you, is to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, all your heart, soul, and your mind, and to love your neighbor as you love yourself. The very first fruit that we're going to look at is love. And I don't think that this is a love that is just an emotion that we put out into the earth. Love is something that comes very much deep within. And I really, truly believe it starts with yourself. Whenever it talks about how we are to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, and it talks about in Ephesians how husbands are supposed to love their wives as they love themselves, the Bible literally encourages self-love and for us to take care of ourselves and our mental well-being and to make sure that we are okay. We as humans are very selfish by nature. Whether you believe in sin and in God at all, the nature of human beings since the beginning of time is very selfish. So to love ourselves and to love others, it is a bit of a process and a chore to be able to consciously do that and not take self-love and turn it into something that's all about oneself. Love is what brings safety and security. It brings validation. It helps people to feel heard. To me, love is the cornerstone of what a Christian and the foundation of what a Christian should start out on the baseline. That is what they should be. The problem is, in fundamentalism and even in just modern Christianity in general, we find that this is now caveated into, I will love my neighbor as I love myself only if they are like me, or only if they fit into this box. I can produce this, oops, I hit my camera. I can produce this fruit of love, but they cannot, that person receiving this love cannot be part of the LGBTQ plus community. In many instances, especially in the South, they cannot be part of the minority group. They cannot be women who choose to rise against the patriarchy. They cannot be people who have abortions. They cannot be all of these things. They can't be a Democrat. They can't love Joe Biden. You know, there's like all of these caveats and these conditions that's put on this command that we have to love, that God and Christ in himself has never gave to us. He told us to love people as he loved the church, as we love ourselves, and to serve and just be there for people. We have to stop. We have to just stop putting conditions on an unconditional love. And the conditions are totally and completely man-made. And with love, after that love comes into play, and you truly start seeing people as Christ sees them, and you start seeing people as human beings, and you stop looking at the world as us versus them, because really we're not supposed to be fighting against other people. If we're going by scripture, if that's what we are doing as Christians, we are only warring against spiritual things. That's it. We are not warring against Jim Bob down the street that, you know, has a peace sticker on the back of his car. We are not, and honestly, we are not even warring against the people who are jumping on the Trump train and just riding that down the river, okay? We are to love. And in that love, in that beautiful, pure love and acceptance and that safety net that you have for yourself and for others, then you produce the next fruit, which is joy. Now, I remember being told that we are supposed to be joyful all the time. You know, we're not supposed to be full of care for anything. We're supposed to always be happy and thankful and content in our circumstances. We should always have the joy of the Lord. But the problem is this doesn't give space for love, and this doesn't give space for our own humanity. I believe God in creating us knows who we are, knows our humanity, knows our flaws. And so because of that, he understands that our joy will be conditional and will be contingent on the love that we have for other people and the love that we have for ourselves. If we hate ourselves and we are constantly berating ourselves and our state, and we do not care for our mental health, we don't care for the things that are important to us, that bring happiness to us, we will never love other people properly, and we will never have true joy. I can tell you, when I was very much steeped into this dogma, I was the most miserable person. Now, on the outside, you couldn't tell. You would never know on surface level that I was miserable. I was depressed. I had so much anxiety. I struggled with so many things. Joy is not something I had. Presented like I had joy because that's what I was supposed to as a good Christian, because who wants to see a miserable Christian, right? No. The thing is, that joy now, I understand what that means. It doesn't mean I do things perfect all the time. I mean, I don't think I'm perfect. And I definitely have not arrived. I don't think any of us ever do until much later. But once I realized that the fruit I was supposed to produce was love, and really, truly embrace that love and the love for myself, knowing that I was important enough to care for physically and mentally and emotionally. And that in turn turned into loving everyone for who they are, where they are in their walks of life. And it doesn't matter if I agree or disagree with them or not. That brought into my life the purest joy that I could ever imagine. I did not know this kind of joy was possible. Yes, I have baggage. I have a lot of mental health issues. I have complex PTSD. I have anxiety, depression, and dissociative amnesia. I mean, the list can go on. I have a lot of chronic illnesses because of the trauma that I've gone through. But because I have completely walked away from the IFB mindset that I am a dirty, rotten dog that deserves nothing in this life, I realized that that love for myself brought that joy. And with that joy, rise on that wave, another fruit that comes in, which is peace. Oh my goodness, the peace that I feel now, the peace that you can feel whenever you truly, truly love and have that joy is beyond measure. It is literally the peace that passes understanding that we're taught about in scripture that has been so convoluted over the years and years of misinterpretation and control and patriarchy and all the things. Peace is just an ever resonating calm of knowing what I am doing is the right thing. That no matter how crazy the outside world gets, no matter, and I use world in the context as in just in general, not in the Christian term. Like, you know, even in life circumstances come up now that 5 years ago, I would have been rocked to my core. But now I'm bothered, I'm hurt, but now I love myself enough to give space for those emotions, to deal with things properly. And then I'm able to then have joy, maybe not instantaneously in the circumstance, but the joy is still there. And then that peace follows right behind it. And this is a peace I've never had before. And I've noticed it in my own self that this peace and this joy and love all of a sudden clicked in me and clicked for me that I have patience with people that I never had before, which is the next fruit. Patience is wrapped up with empathy because I understand that I don't have all the answers. I understand the world I came from thought they did, but they most definitely did not. What they did is if they skewed the truth more than they really presented the truth. But moving from that world into the spot I'm in now, I find I have more patience with myself and with other people. And that is because instead of looking at people as enemies or souls to harvest or just a number to mark on an attendance board on Sundays, I'm starting to see them as people. And I am able to look at these people and go, I understand where they are, or maybe if I don't understand, I can at least empathize. And it increases my patience with people who are still in and people who are out still struggling. And it helps me to have patience even with my own self, because the world of fundamentalism makes it to where you cannot have patience with yourself. You don't know how to deal with emotions outside of joy and happiness, because you're not allowed to feel sadness. You're not allowed to feel anger and frustration. If you do and you hold on to that, and if you try to process that anything longer than just that fleeting moment it comes into your head, it is a sin. So many adults are walking around in this world without emotional regulation, number one. But because of that, they don't have patience with people who are not like them. For me, shaking off all of that stuff and finally loving myself and giving space to these emotions, these negative emotions and these positive emotions, and realizing that they're normal human reactions. I'm even now allowed to have patience with myself. For example, I was taught that if you're a stay-at-home mom, you work from the second you get up until the second you go to bed, because that is your job. And you're bringing glory to God by how you cook, how you clean, how you raise your children. If you sit down, you're lazy. And so that was bred into my mind that even if on days that I did not feel well, I would guilt myself so heavily for not being productive. It amazes me that this stuff like this is taught whenever God himself in the creation story rested on the seventh day. He created the Sabbath and sanctified it. I can't say the word sanctified it and made it a day of rest. God knew from the jump that we are people who don't know how to take it easy. And so he even designated to this group of people that he was reaching out to in the Old Testament that you have got to rest on a certain day. I don't think that the expectation has changed, that we as humans, we need to slow down, we need to rest. So now that I'm out, I understand that I have to give myself space to relax and rest if I'm not feeling well, especially now that I have fibromyalgia and chronic shingles. Like, those things knock me on my butt all the time. And I am learning to be patient and kind with myself. I don't have to be on all the time. With this patience comes the next fruit. It comes kindness. When you are exuding the love and you have that joy and you have that peace and you have that patience or that long suffering for yourself and others, you do something that the fundamentalist world does not know how to do. You know how to show kindness. You show kindness to yourself. You show kindness to others. That can be anything from acts of service, time spent with people. My guinea pigs just scared me. Anything from acts of service, just not throwing out that nippy comment if you're feeling snarky that day. I mean, there's just different ways that you can show kindness. Kindness and the next fruit really, to me, goes hand in hand. Kindness and goodness. They're like the twin fruits. They're like grapes in a bunch kind of thing to me, because kindness and goodness go together. Because that goodness starts to come out of you naturally. And I don't say this because not in a way that I feel like I've met all of these goals and that I exude these fruit all the time, because I definitely do not. I'm still very human, still very flawed. I got to throw that out there. But these are things that I've experienced since leaving the cult mindset and really delving into to find out who Christ and Jesus is for myself. That this kindness and this goodness exudes from people who have truly, truly come to the point of love and joy and peace and patience. And that brings us to faithfulness. And faithfulness was always taught to us, faith, that we were always like in church every time the doors opened. It was that, we tithed regularly. We were faithful to Bible reading, to prayer, to door knocking and street preaching and bus ministry and all of these external ministries. That was our faithfulness fruit. But I find that faithfulness is not necessary, is not really those things. I mean, yeah, if you want to go to church, that's fantastic. There is encouragement in a group of people who believe the way that you do, but a lot of us have come from a world that it hurts too much to be in that environment. But the faithfulness to me is consistency. You show this fruit by consistently showing love and consistently giving patience and faithfully, exuding all of these things that are the fruit. And with that consistency and faithfulness comes the next fruit, which is gentleness. You're gentle. You're soft. You're warm. It does not mean you are a pushover. That many times is what is expected of gentleness, is that you are a pushover. It's easy to walk all over you. But really, to me, to be a strong person and a gentle person in this situation is, as someone put it one time, they described me as a cotton candy battle axe. They say I present myself very nice and kind, but once you get to a certain point, game over. I think that it is very important that you have these boundaries with yourself, and that's part of the loving yourself. You've set boundaries that you don't allow people to go past, but you can still exude gentleness outside of those boundaries. And really that just comes from the core of yourself that stems from loving yourself. And it all kind of wraps up in the very last fruit, which is self-control or long-suffering. You learn as you go through this process of deconstructing or evolving and shedding away all of these things, that there's a lot of things that just doesn't matter anymore. There's hills that I no longer care to die on, that I used to be consistently fighting on all the time to an exhaustive point, because I thought that was what I was supposed to do. But in loving yourself, and having this joy and this peace and being gentle and all of these beautiful fruits that we are capable of having, we then have the ability to foster self-control, because we can understand and have patience with other people. We can empathize where other people are coming from. We learn to hone that impulsivity to lash out or to be abrasive towards others. Doesn't mean that we have to be perfect at it all the time, but that is like something that it just naturally starts to be part of our process. Problem is Christians tend to think that they do follow these things. Like I told you before with love is very conditional in the IFB and the fundy world. Joy is, again, very conditional. Peace, I don't even know what peace is to fundamentalists, because I never felt it whenever I was in. So if you guys have any idea of what peace means in the fundamentalist world, I would love for you to comment below and tell me. Kindness, that's out the window. Kindness is only shown towards people who follow the rules. If you step out of line at all, you are hammered into the ground or you're shunned. Whenever you're standing outside on a street corner with a sign saying that you are damned to hell because you are divorced, that is not self-control and goodness. Outside of an abortion clinic and you're holding up signs calling people baby killers, whenever you don't even know what people are there for, that is not self-control, and that is not kindness, and that is not gentleness. That is abrasive behavior. Christians now like to cling on to this martyr mentality that if anyone says anything against them, oh, you shouldn't have a picket sign or you shouldn't do this, that they are being persecuted. And they take pride in being contentious. And what's funny is the Bible does say only contention comes by pride. But it is so vastly far from what the fruits really should be. Instead, in their place, there's hate and bigotry and racism, control and patriarchy and abuse and spousal abuse and gay conversion camps. There's all of these things that are just terrible, terrible things that are not of Christ. These are the things that Christ would have gone into the temple and thrown the tables over, and would have been infuriated walking into these IFB churches and hearing how these men talk to the congregation and how the congregants treat each other. Because it is not at all what we were taught to do. Because, number one, above all things, we are supposed to love. In this love blossoms out all of the fruit that Christians, true Christians and believers of Christ, should bear. And if you don't see that coming from someone claiming to be a Christian, I would question a lot of things. So that wraps up my video today on the fruits of the Spirit. Stuff like this fascinates me and draws me in, because being taught so long one way and realizing that it was all just control and fear tactics, and really going in, choosing to keep my faith, and going in and finding that all of these things I was taught, like a good portion of these things that I was taught, was wrong. And that the real true Christ, the true God that I believe in, is nothing like that God that I was taught. The God I was taught about was abusive and narcissistic. Christ of the Bible is not abusive or narcissistic. So as we wrap up today, I thank you guys so much for joining me. It means so much. I am currently wearing a Fundy Freed Homewrecker shirt. This was inspired by one of my followers on TikTok. I did a video reacting to the transformed wife, and she talked about how women who work outside the home and do anything outside the home are home wreckers, and they're like, man, we need a t-shirt that says that. So I'm like, oh, look, I have a t-shirt now that says that, and I love it. I wore it out today. It's the best thing, because people are like, oh, you're a home wrecker, but you know, it is what it is. So if you like what I'm doing, don't forget to subscribe, ring the notification bell, share it around, just to support the channel. It would be fantastic, and it means so much to me. Don't forget about the hot sauce challenge or the hot ones challenge for 500. But we'll see how that goes if we get there. And until next time, my beautiful friends, everyone has a story. What's yours?